What is up, my Squirtleites? It is I, your king. Welcome you back to more Let's Play Pokemon Black and White 2. In the last episode, we made our return to Route 14, and using our HM Waterfall, which I didn't have the last time we were here, we made it to the Abundant Shrine. Now, the Abundant Shrine is technically accessible a lot earlier than where we're at now. As soon as you get a hold of the HM, you can come back here and fight these trainers, and I hadn't done that, so a lot of these trainers are extremely under-leveled. So I made a promise that I was going to be skipping all the fights. There are only a couple left, but we do still have some items to grab and some other things to talk about while we're here, so let me skip this one really quickly. I mean, I'm literally just brute forcing these trainers with my weakest moves on my Jolteon, and I'm still one-shotting all of them, so it's not like there's much of a challenge to be had here. But the back half of this episode is going to be a bit more interesting because other than just gathering items, we're actually going to be making a very interesting stop-off to something that I've actually never personally done before in Pokemon Black and White 2, and I will tell you why after I get through this fight. And actually, that trainer had 4 Pokemon, which was enough to push Kamina all the way to level 63, so that was cool. And we also get TM92 Trick Room, which is a very valuable TM in Generation 5, as there are a lot of very slow Pokemon in the Unova Pokedex. Definitely a lot more valuable in the first game than it is here in the second game, but, you know, you still have access to many of those Pokemon, so it's not too bad. And also, I want to go over this really quickly. So, it's a small weathered shrine. Obviously, this is where, in the first game, if you bring Tornadus and Thundurus, it's where you're meant to encounter and catch Landorus. In the second game, Landorus is not catchable, and I do believe that's because Thundurus and Tornadus are also not catchable in this game, but I'm going to fact-check myself on that one real quick. And yes, that is true. You have to trade them up from the first game to get them here. However, if you have Landorus in your party, I think it has to be Landorus, yes. You walk up to the shrine, you will activate it by pressing A, and then an old man will walk up out of nowhere and tell you a story. This story is about the forces of nature themselves, and after you hear his story, he's going to give you what is known as Reveal Glass. This is an important item that allows you to change all 3 of the forces of nature from their incarnate forms to their Therian forms. Now, why would you want to do this? Well, that is simply down to stat distribution. The thing is the incarnate forms tend to be more balanced in their stats, while the Therian forms tend to specialize a bit more, making them actually quite a bit stronger. Good example of this is Landorus' Therian form, which is one of the most powerful Pokemons from the competitive era that this game is set in. It was extremely strong for, I want to say, like all the way from Gen 5 through 7 until the huge meta shakeup that was Generation 8, where Landorus literally wasn't even accessible. And just as an example, Landorus' incarnate form loses a little bit of special attack and speed, like 10 points there, but it gains 20 points in its attack, bringing its physical attack up to 145. This is extremely important because it makes it one of the best physical attackers in the entire series, and with already having very good defensive and speed stats on top of that, it is pretty hard to bring this thing down. It makes it one of the most formidable Pokemon in the Uber tiers that the competitive scene has ever seen. So, just as an example, and you know, Thundurus and Tornadus' Therian forms, they're not quite as popular, but they're still no slouches. They're still extremely strong. So, that is the main reason for doing that, and obviously they're going to be very good to you in certain activities in this game as well, like one of the ones we're about to get into here relatively soon. Also, I think this person just gives us a Fun Fest mission, so I'm going to grab that. And now I'm going to tell my story about Pokemon Black and White 2, which I've kind of talked about, but I don't think I've talked about in full, and about my history with this game. So this Let's Play has been kind of a revelatory experience for me personally, because as I've been playing through it, I mean, there's a lot about Pokemon Black and White 2 I remember, but I'm also realizing that there's not as much that I remember as I thought, is what I'm trying to say. Because Black and White 1 was a deeply personal experience because I was very late to the party with the Nintendo DS. In fact, with pretty much every Nintendo console growing up until I had moved out, gotten my own place, gotten my own job, and was able to actually buy things for myself, I'll just say this. I was poor growing up. Not extremely poor, but like poor enough where video games were absolutely a luxury in my life. I was not able to get any of the latest systems. I usually was an entire generation behind everybody else growing up, and the DS was something I never actually had on my own. I mostly just played main consoles as a kid, and handhelds, really the only handheld I had growing up was a Game Boy Advance, so I just didn't really bother with them too much. So when I finally moved out, a DS was something I was able to get on the cheap pretty easily, and Pokemon Black and White 1 was the first game that I got. Now, this was one I was actually able to play while it was still relevant, but Black and White 2 came out very close to the end of the DS's life cycle and very close to the release of in fact, around the same time as the release of the 3DS. I did not get Black and White 2 right when it came out. I got it a little bit after that when the 3DS was coming around, and didn't end up actually playing it until very close to the release of Pokemon X and Y. So my experience with Black and White 2 the first time around was just kind of playing through the main story and then just leaving it off from there. Not because I didn't enjoy it, but just because I was like, I had this urge to move on to other things. And I remember, liking things about it, but I was also kind of like, but the story's not that great. And, I've actually realized that this time it's not as bad as I gave it credit did not give it credit for. Because, yeah, sure, it's not as good as Black and White 1's, but it's still good. Sorry, we already went over this. The point is that my impression that I was left with Black and White 2 was not convincing enough to pull me away from the upcoming release that was X and Y, which had more of my attention. So, much of the Black and White 2 post-game stuff I didn't really experience. I played a lot of the Pokemon World Tournament, but that was about it. I didn't really do anything else. And one of those things I didn't do is, this. Welcome to White Forest, everybody. This is, just like in Pokemon Black and White 1, a place that shapeshifts depending on which version you have. In Black 2 version, it is a city. In White version, it is a forest. And the forest is a little bit different this time around because in Pokemon White 1, the idea was that you were supposed to basically cultivate the area and add more Pokemon that could be caught and could only exclusively be caught in White Forest, while also meeting lots of trainers along the way who would give you things, and that's really all it was. It was just sort of like a passive accomplishment that you could build up over time. White 2, and honestly Black 2 as well, this time around, made these areas much more involved and much more interesting. So, you'll see right here we've got a bunch of stands around here, and these are what are supposed to be stores. But none of them have been unlocked yet because we haven't actually participated in the main event here, which is, up there. Now, before I head on inside, I am actually going to head into the Pokemon Center and do some healing, but I'm also going to put Paula away, and I'm going to actually give myself a full team of 6, and we're going to keep this full team of 6 for a little while, because we are about to enter what is known as the White Tree Hollow. Now, this was mentioned to us back after we defeated Alder, and we actually met Alder's child, Banga, because this is where Banga is at. Now, like I said, I've never done this before, and my plan, based on the difficulty here, is to try to spend the next few episodes to get through, and I think I'm going to bring Tomoe in because Jack is just a little bit overpowered. My plan here is to try to get through the first 5, maybe 6 areas here in the next few episodes, and then take a little bit of a break and come back and finish it a bit later, because this is technically the highest level content in the entire game once you start to get to the very end of it. It's even tougher than rebattling the Elite Four. It's even tougher than battling Cynthia, all that. And the way that this works is very simple, but also can be a little bit confusing. And so I'm going to try my best to explain this while also kind of running into this a bit blind myself. So let's talk to this guy. Welcome, welcome. This is Unova's Challenge, the White Tree Hollow. What would you like to do today? I would like some info on this whole thing, actually. This facility was made so that you trainers can come and train to your heart's content. Inside, you'll find lots of other trainers who also came here to challenge themselves. When you run into another trainer, they'll surely challenge you to a battle. Defeat all the trainers that are in your way to complete an area. If you want to complete an area, you've got to find and defeat the boss trainer of that area. By defeating the boss trainer, you can advance on to the next area. If you want, you can simply battle with other trainers to improve your skills. You can also focus on finding the boss trainer to complete the area. What are you waiting for? Get in there and test your strength. There's a ton of powerful trainers inside, and once inside, you can't use any of the items in your bag. Don't you forget it. Welcome, welcome. What would you like to do today? I would like to challenge this, and we're going to go with Area 1. Recover your Pokemon before you start the challenge. You're a look all ready to go. Best of luck in there. Okay, so this is going to take us into a subterranean area, and we're going to have to try and track down this boss trainer. Now, I know how generally the first area goes, but obviously there are elements to this that are entirely randomized, like the trainers you can run into. But this person right here is not necessarily a trainer. Are you a new challenger? My, that expression on your face is telling me that you've got no idea what to do. All right, I suppose I can spare some advice for a newcomer. First of all, you should know that in order to complete an area in advance, you must defeat the boss trainer. You can try to seek out the boss trainer without any leads if you want. However, it's probably a better idea to challenge the other trainers first. A lot of them know quite a bit about the area and might be able to provide you with useful information. So that right there is known as, and is he going to come back? No. That is known as, I believe, a gate trainer, which is the person that you kind of need to know about before you go on through. Now, I'm going to battle this Pokemon breeder because they are going to give me some information about the boss trainer, so let's do that. Now, this first area, these Pokemon are only going to be in, I think, the 40s, late 40s in terms of levels, so they're not going to be too difficult. But obviously, the problem with going through here is that it is a bit of an endurance test. Okay, so 49, 50... not too bad. I'm actually going to do a little bit of a swap here, though. So the nice thing about this whole area is you still get experience for challenging it, which is completely different from pretty much any other battle tower, battle frontier, anything like that in existence. You still can't use your bag, but you get the full breadth of all of your teammates at your disposal, and you still get experience from this entire thing. So it really does actually help you train a bit, which is cool. I think that's really, really neat that they give you that ability. But obviously, there are still some downsides to the entire thing that make it a little bit challenging, and it is an endurance test. So if you find yourself battling too many trainers, you're going to start to get worn down before you get to that boss trainer, and you're going to want to have some really good Pokemon in store for that boss trainer, especially because they are not too different, especially some of the later ones are not too different from Frontier Brains. And if you remember how Frontier Brains were back in the 2 different iterations of the Battle Frontier, they're often packing legendary Pokemon. So you got to be ready. Now, obviously, we're not dealing with that here in the first area, or even like the first 5 or 6 areas. But later on, it is going to get tough. And I, as a personal objective, I'm going to say right now, and I don't know how long this is going to take, but I am going to commit to beating the entire White Tree Holler. Oh my gosh, I can't even say my words right now. I'm going to commit to beating the entire White Tree Hollow before this Let's Play is all said and done. I don't care how long it takes. We're going to do it. This is going to be my personal challenge instead of the Pokemon World Tournament, which is something that's a little bit more tough to gauge, and also is something that I think you definitely can't get away with winning as easily with just your main story team. You really do have to sort of build a competitive team to win that a bit more, which my team is not, because I'd need to structure their IVs and EVs a certain way. This is more something that you can just straight up beat by leveling up your team enough. I mean, if you bring in a full team of 6 level 100s, you're going to be able to beat the last area. Not no problem, but relatively easily, because I believe that this whole entire White Tree Hollow caps around the early to... I think it's just the early 80s, maybe mid 80s in terms of levels. And obviously you can beat that with level 100 Pokemon. So something to keep in mind. Anyway, apparently the boss trainer is taking good care of a Watchog. Good care of. So that actually gives me an idea of the type of trainer that we are looking for. So we're going to get stopped by this person again. Hello, newcomer. How are you doing? Take a look around this room. See that strange door? That's a gate that leads into the room where the boss trainer waits. The gate is closed right now, though, so you can't go through. First, you'll need to find the gate trainer somewhere in this area and get... Oh, so you're not the gate trainer. You're just the... So someone else is the gate trainer. So you need to find them somewhere in this area and get them to open the gate for you. However, they'll only open the gate for trainers that they deem to be strong enough, so it's up to you to battle the gate trainer and prove your strength. By the way, the gate trainer of this area is... Oh, it's actually you! So you are the gate trainer. I'll be waiting for you somewhere in this area, so come find me. So we just need to find this battle girl sprite and see if we can't track her down. So notice how some of these doors are locked off. I believe in later areas, a lot of them open up. Now, as you go through these rooms, you're going to have trainers that are going to be doing all sorts of maneuvers, and you're going to try to get around them if you don't want to battle them, of course. However, battling them will also give you hints as to where the gate trainer is, and it looks like I got lucky here. Hello, we meet again. How are you doing? You know that you can't use items in here, right? Aren't you and your Pokemon starting to get a bit tired? If you are, seek out a nurse. Just talk to one of them, and the nurse will recover your Pokemon. You have to have a battle first, though. Well, I'm going on ahead. Don't keep me waiting too long. All right, well, I think I'm just going to keep going where you're going because that seems to be the play here. And like she said, you do want to seek out a nurse, which I am actually going to seek out this one. Even though I don't really need it, we'll just kind of show it. The way that this works is that I believe with the nurse, you battle them. They don't automatically heal your Pokemon then, but what they do is they give you the option to heal. However, unlike nurses in the main game, you can't keep going back for heals. You get one chance to choose to have your Pokemon healed. And if you go with it, then they're going to be healed then, but then you cannot get healed again. And I want to say only one nurse per area can spawn. So you're not going to get a lot of chances to redo that, but it does allow you to at least store and save your one-time heal for when you really need it. So that is kind of nice. I will be proven wrong if this at the end of this fight, though, if I am incorrect. So, and I don't even have a guide up for this. I'm just going off of like the information that I've read up on, and hopefully that's enough. But I do know that there are like certain classes of trainers, and I'm going to bring up a thing for that as well and see if I can't like give a little more information. But I'll do that in future areas, probably in the next episode. Strong Pokemon look tired. Shall I recover them? No, not yet. Just remember not to overdo it. So I think, let's see. Yeah, okay. So I can choose that if I want to. I definitely didn't need to right there, but whatever. We'll take it. This is the first area, so I'm not too concerned about it. We'll just keep going. And we're going to run into you again. Newcomer, you finally made it. I've been waiting for you. You know what you have to do to open that gate, right? Let's get started then. I'll determine whether you have the strength to face the boss trainer or not. Then we're going to obviously have to backtrack to where the boss trainer is and get this done. We're going to finish up this area in this episode. I know we're already technically over time, but that's okay. This will be simple, I promise. So the gate trainer is, on average, a couple of levels above some of the other trainers. I think the nurses are always a couple levels below. And then the boss trainer, I want to say, has an exact 3-level increase over the average levels of all of the trainers in the area. So, but they're a special case. Shinx, I will switch on over to Farina. And again, this is good because I'm getting experience out of this. And as we progress to higher and higher areas, the nice thing is that even if you can't beat a specific area, you can always keep re-challenging it, and you're going to continue to gain levels as you try to do so. So it just makes the entire experience a lot more productive. And, I'm kind of kicking myself for having never played through this mode because I think it's extremely well designed. Obviously, I'm probably going to run into some difficulty a little bit later on, but I think it's very well designed. I think this is a very cool idea for an area, and I would like to experience as much of it as I can because I think they did a really good job with this. Now, I should mention that in Black City, you have instead what is known as the Black Tower to climb, which is obviously going to have a bit of a different aesthetic to it, but it's generally the same idea. The one downside, though, and I think this is probably the worst, but some people might be able to correct me on this. I think this is the worst thing about the Black Tower, is the fact that you do not fight Banga at the top. Banga is exclusive to the White Tree Hollow. Only white trainers get to battle him. Now, of course, that's not a total loss, and we'll get into why here in a second. But it is still kind of unfortunate because it's like he's such an interesting and unique character idea that, it kind of makes sense to be able to, that you'd want to actually be able to challenge him. And it's, it's unfortunate that you can't. However, there is an upside to this entire situation, and that is the fact, as I switch you around, I'm also going to switch the lucky eggs around as I go. That is the fact that once you clear, I think it's Area 5, you will actually be given a key that you can trade to trainers of the other version to allow you to swap whether or not it's White Forest or Black City, so that even Black 2 trainers still can challenge White Tree Hollow, and White 2 trainers can still challenge Black Tower, respectively. The guy at the top of Black Tower just has like the same sprite as, I believe, the veteran. I don't actually know what his name is. Hold on. Okay, actually, I am going to stop exactly what I was saying right there because I do have a correction to make. No, you do get to fight Banga in Black 2. However, on repeat runs of Area 10 in White 2, you fight Banga every time, but in Black 2, after you've beaten Banga once, you do not get to battle Banga again. Instead, you fight this veteran sprited trainer that's named Jariel, I believe, and they have, I think, slightly different Pokemon. I don't know, but yeah, that's a little bit of a different change. It's strange. I don't know. It definitely has to do with Black Tower's aesthetic a bit more. I mean, he's obviously supposed to be like a secret agent type of some description, so that's kind of cool, while obviously Banga is a bit more of like a wild kid. So it all depends on what sort of aesthetic you're into, but obviously you would have picked white or black for different reasons anyway, given the Pokemon you can find in each game and whatnot. I mean, I always felt like the main reason to pick white or black is dependent on which legendary you like with more. I always preferred Zekrom, so that's why I picked white, but I can understand why a lot of people like Reshiram. It's one of the most popular legendaries out there, so a lot of people defaulted to black for it. And then, of course, if you're doing the sequel, you want to continue with the same game, because going from black to white 2 or white to black 2, there are definitely some weird continuity errors that you're going to be experiencing if you do that. But anyway, we have just defeated the boss trainer. You're more impressive than I imagine. I'll give you one final hint that you may find useful. You encountered all kinds of trainers on your way here, right? Did you notice that the information each of them knew was different? Some know where the gate trainer is, and some know where the nurse is, for example. Try battling with all of the trainers to find the best way through this place. Be on your way now. I look forward to hearing all about your exploits. All right, I'll go over a few more explanations on the White Tree Hollow in the next episode, as specifically regarding trainers to look out for as we go through this place. But we'll worry about that next time. I'll see if we can get through hopefully more than one area an episode, but I have no idea how long this is going to take. Now, the first completion of Area 1 is going to get you a random vitamin as a reward. I believe that's also the reward for Area 2, but the rewards are going to increase as we go further and further through the areas. So, next time, everybody, we are going to go on to Area 2 of White Tree Hollow. So thank you all so very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this episode very, very much, and I will see you all in the next one.